The story opens with a shot of a calm, eerie lake at twilight. The water is so still it looks like glass, reflecting the towering pines and a faint, blood-red sunset. A voice narrates. They say Lake Mourn takes what you love most. It doesn't drown you, it keeps you. Some say they hear their names whispered on the wind when they pass too close. Others never come back to tell the tale. A scream echoes across the water, cutting the scene to black. Chapter 1: The Arrival. Margaret, a determined and practical young woman, arrives at a remote mountain village with her friends, George, the group's jokester, Emily, a younger sister with a deep fear of the supernatural, and Edward, a quiet photographer who captures moments others miss. The group is there to hike and escape their stressful city lives. They hear about the lake from an old man at a local inn. He warns them. That lake's cursed. People go missing. And those who return ain't the same. Margaret brushes it off as a silly local legend, but Emily looks uneasy. Chapter 2: The First Signs. The group reaches the lake after a grueling trek through the dense forest. The lake's stillness feels unnatural, as if it's watching them. Edward takes photos, capturing strange shadows and reflections they can't see with their eyes. That night, while they camp by the shore, Emily hears faint whispers calling her name. She wakes Margaret, but the whispers stop. "You're imagining things," Margaret says, dismissing her fears. The next morning, Edward finds footprints leading into the water but none coming back. Chapter 3: Emily's Disappearance. As the group ventures deeper into the woods around the lake, Emily begins acting strangely, wandering off and staring at the water for long periods. At one point, she tells Margaret, "I feel like the lake knows me. Like it's calling me home." That night, during a storm, Margaret wakes to find Emily gone. She and the others search frantically, finding her near the lake's edge, staring into the black water. As they approach, she turns and whispers, "Don't let it take you too." Before they can stop her, Emily steps into the lake and vanishes without a sound. Chapter 4: The Shadows in the Forest. Devastated, Margaret and the others try to leave, but they can't find the trail back. The forest seems to shift around them, leading them in circles. The whispers grow louder, and the shadows in Edward's photos seem to move. One night, George tries to lighten the mood with jokes, but his laughter dies when he hears a voice mimic him from the darkness. It sounds just like him, but warped and hollow. Edward becomes obsessed with his camera, convinced the photos hold clues. In one shot, he sees Emily's reflection in the lake, smiling unnaturally. Chapter 5: The Price of Escape. Desperate to leave, the group stumbles upon an old cabin. Inside, they find journals from other travelers who encountered the lake. The entries are frantic, full of warnings. Don't look into the water. It shows you what you fear most. It wants you to give in. Margaret reads one final note: only one may leave. The lake demands a price. Edward becomes consumed by guilt, believing he could have saved Emily. He decides to offer himself to the lake, saying it's the only way to break the curse. Despite Margaret's protests, he walks into the water. For a moment, the lake glows faintly, and the forest shifts, revealing the path back. Chapter 6: The Return. Margaret and George escape the forest, but they're forever changed. George becomes reclusive, haunted by the voices he heard. Margaret returns to the village, determined to uncover the truth about the lake. As she packs to leave, a local woman approaches her and whispers, "The lake didn't let you go. It just gave you time." The final shot shows Margaret staring at her reflection in a window. For a split second, she sees Emily and Edward standing behind her, their faces pale and eyes empty.